Hello, welcome to today's edition of Daf Yomi. Bava Metzia, Tachdeit. Bava Metzia, Daf 676 Amud B. So let's dive straight in. How can a case be compared? Granted, if the opposite was stated, in a case where a woman said, "Receive my bill of divorce for me," and the agent said to the husband, "Your wife said, bring me my bill of divorce." His kabali v'ishtecha amma haveli. In the case of a woman who appointed an agent to receive her bill of divorce on her behalf, and he told her husband that he was the agent for its delivery, he must bring it to her. To which the husband said, "Take it," as she said. It's uncertain whose statement he accepted. Consequently, if the bill of divorce reaches her and comes into her possession, she's divorced. If it was destroyed before the document reached her and came into her possession, it's uncertain when she's divorced, and that's from Shulchan Aruch Ibn Ezra 149. And the husband said, "Here you are," as she said. And Nachman said that Rav says, from when the bill of divorce reaches the agent's possession, she's divorced. It would be understandable. Apparently, the husband relies upon a statement that the agent is an agent of receipt. Until as Rav Nachman ruled, from when the bill of divorce reaches her possession, she's divorced. One could conclude that evidently the husband relies on the agent's statement, and based on that statement, the agent is designated as an agent for delivery. But there, in the case cited, Nachman rules that she's not divorced. It is not because the husband relies on one statement or the other. Well, it's due to the fact that by means of his statement, the agent negates his agency entirely. Akeshlich lichusei legamri. One cannot appoint himself as an agent for receipt. Since the husband did not explicitly appoint this man as agent for delivery, he is no longer an agent at all, and therefore it is as though the bill of divorce came into the wife's possession without being given, and she is not divorced. As he said to the husband, "I'm an agent for receipt," meaning I am not to be an agent for delivery. He's essentially saying that he is not prepared to go to delivering the bill of divorce to her. Therefore, even if he does ultimately deliver the bill of divorce to her, he is an agent neither for the woman nor for the husband. No conclusion can be drawn with regard to the question of which statement the husband relies upon. The Gemara has assumed the term deceived used in the Mishnah must be referring to an inaccuracy stated by the middleman in this discussion with the laborers. The Gemara now offers an alternative explanation. If you wish, say that when the Mishnah teaches they deceive one another, it means that one of the parties reneged on the agreement, as the Tana is also called a circumstance described by the term reneged, meaning that either the employer or the laborers reneged on their agreement by the term deceived. Chazunami hitu kurele. As for why the Tana uses both the term deceived and the term reneged, it's possible that one of the sides changes his mind due to an error. E.g., he realized that he did not need to accept the work after all. He is considered to have reneged. The term deceived refers to a case where he went back on his word without having erred, e.g. due to the change in prices to the Ritva. As it was taught in a Braita in a similar manner, with regard to one of the hired artisans or laborers, and they deceive the employer, or the employer deceived them, they have nothing but agreements against one another. So what's the footnotes there? The commentaries ask why this is not considered a case where there should be liability for damage caused by indirect action, which would mean that the side responsible for the loss must compensate the other parties. Tosfot. Some contend that the halacha of damage caused by indirect action applies only to an actual loss, not to the deprivation of a potential gain. That's in Maharam of Vodberg. If someone hired laborers and they had yet to start their work, either party can retract, but the other side has a grievance against the retracting party, forcing him to search afresh. 31. And then one should claim. The Braita continues. But what case is the statement said? When they did not go to the workplace, i.e. the employee reneged immediately, but if the donkey drivers went, some commentators maintain that it makes no practical difference if they actually went to find produce. A decisive factor is A decisive factor is whether or not they had other work. Others contend that their going out to seek produce is considered an act of acquisition, and therefore it turns out that they have no work. The employer must pay them regardless of whether they had employment. That's in the Ramban, and they could not find. Halcho chamarim v'lo matzu. This halacha applies only if it was the employer who reneged, whereas if the labor changed their mind and it was not a task whose performance was pressing, they did not owe the employer anything, says the Rashba. The latter commentaries ask why the obligation of the employer extends further than that of the laborers. Some claim that the sages enacted a decree for the benefit of the laborers, in Tivat HaMishpat, while others contend that this is similar to the promise to give a small gift to a pauper, which may not be reneged on in the Minchas HaBoker. Any produce to carry, or laborers went off to work and found that the field was too moist for tilling, the employer must give them their full wages to which they are entitled, but he does not give them the entire stipulated amount. As a donkey driver who comes back loaded cannot be compared to one who comes back empty, nor can a laborer who performs work to be compared to one who sits idle. So what's the footnote? If someone hired laborers who start the work, I said that one. Poel shechaza bo le'acher shehizchil. If a hired laborer reneged after starting his work, the court appraises the amount he had done and receives the wages for his work, even if the wage of the assignment had appreciated or depreciated in the meantime, said the Ramah. If he did contract the labor, the court appraises the amount of work remaining, even if the rate of pay had increased, and deducts from his wages the amount the employer must pay for the completion of the task. If the price for the work had decreased, he is paid in accordance with the amount he has completed at the rate he had agreed with his employer, said the Sheikh. Although some authorities dispute this ruling, the halacha follows Rabbi Dosa in accordance with Rav's ruling with regard to a contract. The employer deducts a sum from the laborer's wages, paying them the amount they are willing to receive, given that they do not actually have to perform the work. In what case is the statement, if they reneged, they have only a grievance, that if they reneged, they have only a grievance said, when they had not started the work at all, but if they had started the work, the court appraises for them that which they have done. Shamin lahen ma she'asu. The commentaries ask, since the first Tana maintains that in any case they receive half of their wages, why is this appraisal necessary? One explanation is that if they worked half the day and completed far more work than is covered by half their wages, they can claim more money, as otherwise they will have been exploited. And that's in the Mayahane Chachma. To receive, for which they receive some form of compensation. Now, so if they received standing grain to reap for a contractual agreement of 2 seller for the entire field, and they reaped half of it and left half of it, or if they took a garment to weave at 2 seller and they weaved half of it and left half of it, in these cases the court appraises for them that which they have done. A brighter details this appraisal. If the court waited for the part of the task they had done was now worth 6 dinars, a seller and a half, as the price of the assignment increase, either he gives them a seller, as originally agreed upon, since they do not forfeit their stipulated wages, or they finish the work and take 2 seller. And if the common wage for the part of the task that they had done was worth a seller, he gives them a seller. The same will be explained by the Gemara. Rabbi Dosa says, the court appraises for them that which must still be done. If the current wage for the part of the task they had not done was worth 6 dinars, i.e. he can only find laborers who were completed with 6 dinars, which is equivalent to 1.5 seller. He either gives the first laborers a shekel, which is equivalent to half a seller, or they finish their work and they 2 seller. And if the current wage for part of the task that they had not done was worth a seller, he gives them a seller. The Bryce continues. In what case is this statement said? I.e. in what circumstance the laborers paid for the amount they performed and the employer has only a grievance against them. It is said with regard to a matter that does not involve financial loss due to work stoppage. With regard to a matter that involves financial loss, Bedava ha'avud, the laborers can retract in case where the work will not be lost. But if the employer will suffer an irreversible loss, and the labor did not retract under duress, he may hire replacement laborers at their expense, or deceive them by informing them that he will pay them more when he intends to give them only their wage as originally agreed. Even if he actually pays them more, he can sue them for the difference later. All this applies only if there is no other laborers available to complete the assignment. Shulchan Aruch Mishkan 35, due to the work stoppage. The employer may hire replacement laborers for a high price at the expense of the first laborers, or deceive the first laborers. How does he deceive them? For example, he can say to them, I fixed a seller's wages for you, come and take 2. And up to what amount may he hire their expense, even if they're 40 or 50 dinars. He can pay other laborers for more than the first laborer's wages to ensure that the work is completed. In what case is the statement said, i.e. in what circumstance may the employer deceive them to such an extent in order to ensure the work is completed, when there are no laborers there in that place to hire? Since the employer will suffer a heavy loss, he may resort to one of these methods. But if there are laborers there to hire, and the laborers who reneged said to the employer, go and hire from these, the employer has nothing but a grievance against them. A Tana taught that brighter before Rav. The employer must give them their full wages. Rav said to him, my uncle, Chavivi. The primary meaning of Chaviv is beloved. It took on a secondary meaning of uncle, and it became synonymous with the word Dod, which also has 2 meanings, beloved and uncle. Some Aramaic translation of the Torah translate Dod and Doda, uncle and aunt, respectively Chavivi and Chavivate. Rabbi Chia said, if I were ruling on this case, I would give them only the wages of an idle laborer, but no more. And yet you said that he gives them their full wages. The Gemara asked, but the Braita teaches concerning this very matter, a donkey driver who comes backloaded cannot be compared to one who comes back empty, nor can a laborer who performs work to be compared to one who sits idle. Evidently, even the Tana of the Braita agrees that they do not receive their full wages. The Gemara answers, the Tana teaching the Braita before Rav did not conclude it, and he was unaware of this limitation, which is why he commented that they did not deserve their entire wages. There are those who say that the Tana indeed concluded it before him. And this is what Rav is saying. My uncle said, if I were ruling on this case, I would not give them anything. And yet you said that he gives them the wages of an idle laborer. The Gemara questions is written, but it's difficult. But how can one account for the difference between the ruling of the Braita and that of Rav's uncle Rabbi Chia? The Gemara responds, it is not difficult, as this case where Rabbi Chia would rule the laborers are not paid at all. It is referring to one who surveyed his land. What does that mean? Siyara the Aria. According to Rashi, the laborers must be with him at the time, either so that he can prove that they were aware of the situation and accepted it, or to prevent them from claiming that they were hired to work in some other field. Others indicate that it is sufficient if the examination was carried out by the employer alone, says the Rambam. What's the other footnote? If the employer examined his field the night before and found that he needed laborers, and in the morning the situation changed so that they could no longer perform the work, the employer is not obligated to pay them anything. If he neglected to check his land the previous night, he must pay them the wages of an idle laborer. Mishpat 331. Rabbi Chia does not disagree with the opinion of the first Tana, as they were addressing different cases. Why was Rav puzzled by the ruling of the Braita? The commentators explained that he was surprised that the Tana admitted this difference between an employee who surveyed his field and one who did not, which explicitly stated in the Braita the Ritva. Observe that it was fit to be tilled, and hired laborers on the basis of this examination. It is their misfortune that something occurred in the meantime to prevent them from carrying out the task. Conversely, that case where the Braita rules that they are given some payment is referring to a landowner who did not survey his land that night before. Since he failed to check his own field, he must bear the responsibility. This is like that which Rav said with regard to one who hired laborers to till, and the rain fell and filled his land with water, preventing the laborers from performing the work. If he surveyed his land the night before and did all he could, this is laborers' loss and is a consequence of their misfortunes. That is paid on to the next daf. And that's going to end it there, and wish you all the best. Shalom. Take care. Bye.